Hey guys, welcome to another video. This video is going to be a little bit more about functions. We're going to talk about a little bit more information on a function, how we can add a conditional statement within the function. We'll discuss about how we can use local variables and global variables and what the differences are and so forth. And let's get started then. So let's create a new or I'll just keep it under here. Do a new file here. We'll do it. We'll call it local variable. I'll call it local var.py. All right. So let's get started and define our main function. We'll say I'll come down here a little bit. Define main. It doesn't have to be main. It could be anything that you want it to be. We'll say get name, which is nothing right now because we're going to create a, let's come down here and actually create this real quick. Define get name. You know what, let's do this. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's define this function as get IP addresses. All right. Then let's go down here and define that function called get IP addresses. All right, and then we're going to need this. That's fine. So this one right here is we're going to have something called name equals input, and we'll say enter your IP address. There we go. Alright, so then up here, we're going to put print, oops, wrong. There we go. Print, hello. And then after that, we're going to put this variable that we have in this function right here. And I'm just going to show you what happens here. And then we need to do the main run. There we go. Now if we run this, it's going to blow up. Watch. I'll put 15.122.12.1.5. Oh, 4. Enter. It blows up. Why does it blow up? So when using a local variable could only be used within its region. So what we're saying here is first thing that we're saying, let's go over here to IP address. Input your IP address. Perfect. Then we're coming up here and saying print hello and then whatever IP address you put. So for example, let's say that we change it to my IP address. All right, and then we came up here and I copied it and I put it right here. Okay. What happens is it grabs this, but it doesn't know how to display it. Why? Because in this case, you can't use a variable from one function to another. So we have a variable locally here, but we can't use it up here. The only place we can use it is down here. So if we copy this statement right here, copy, and then we hashtag it out, and I put it down here, paste it in here. Now this should work because it knows what that IP address is. I'll put hello, my IP is that. So now if I run it, enter my IP, I'll put 15 dot, making something up, dot. Look, it says hello, my IP is this. Only reason being is because we're using a local variable within our function. So hopefully it makes sense. So this one right here would be local variables. When we discussed bad request and good request. And let's create a new function here. We will call it global var.py. All right, so let's create a global variable. and let's come up with some type of value. We'll call it score equals 0, and define our main function. And within this main function, we'll use something called global, and we'll put score next to it and hit enter. Then we'll do a score to get the input of a value. We'll format it to be an integer because we want them to input it in integer. We'll use the word input, and we'll say, please enter your score, whatever that score is. There we go. So now we have that. Now we need to go down and define another function. We're going to call this show score. Okay, and then we're going to do print, and here we're going to say the score that you entered in is, and we have that, comma, and we're going to put score. Now if you remember when we used the low variable, we couldn't do it when it was up here. So now we need to call this function down here. So we could do show score. So what's going to happen is we declare score here, we initialize it, we give it a value 0. The first thing that happens is the main function. It says, hey, I'm going to declare this variable as a global variable, which means we could use it anywhere. We take that value and have someone input a score in. Then we call the other function called show score, and we print that value, but now we can use score and it recognizes it because it's global. So let's go ahead and try to run it here. Okay. Let's run. Alright, what's going on? Alright, so it's, I'm gonna try it again. Oh. Alright, so this is missing. Main function. Jeez, sitting there wondering. Alright. Alright, so enter a score, we'll say 450, hit enter. It says your score that you entered in is 450. Because it's a, now let's say that we took this off right here, ran it and see if it worked. Your score is 0. Why is that? Because the value is 0, we set it way up here, and we took the global value in here, so it doesn't even know what score is. So if we put it back, everything runs fine. Even if we put the score is 59, we ran it and put, say, 63, it's going to say 63. It doesn't matter. But best practice is to remember to start it off at 0. That way you don't have any problems with it. So in this chapter we talk about global variables and local variables, and we talk about some constants as well, but this is pretty much it, what I want to cover in this chapter. So we've talked about local variables, functions, we talked about other features and so forth. Actually, there was one other thing I wanted to go over before I think about it. We can talk about coin toss. Alright, so let's do one more function. We'll use this, we'll call it Super Bowl. I'm going to see why in a minute. Alright, so what do you do before a Super Bowl? You do a coin toss. Alright, so we'll start off and import a feature called random, and it's going to use a random value. Then we'll come down here and set up constants. So constants are values that are set at a certain value but never changes. It's not allowed to change. So we'll say heads equals 1, tails equals 2, and we'll say tosses equals 10. Okay. So now we'll do a find a main. Like I said, you don't have to be main, it could be something else. I'll put for the toss in range, and then we'll put tosses because we're putting 10 tosses, colon here. And then we're going to simulate the coin toss. We're going to say if random dot random integer, and we put heads tails equals heads. Then we print heads. We say, oh, okay, it's heads. Else, this is where we get in the condition. We have to do else colon, and then we do print tails. That way, and then we have to finish it off by running it. So this calls the main function. So if I run this like this, look, tails, heads, and all the way down. Now, like I said, you could call this anyone. You could call it my rubber ducky if you want to. Doesn't matter. You just have to make sure you call my rubber ducky down here, and if you run it, it still works fine. So this is this will conclude our video on functions. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thanks for watching.